welcome to another edition of Pittsburgh Sports Line on Tuesday night. This is our live show. I'm Al Levine, the Talking Machine. We got Chip the Prophet Hayner, Smoking Jim Frazier, and Zach Brenner. Everybody was here early, and I got to at least get this promo out because that was the best pizza I had today. Olive Oil's Pizzeria.
So good.
412-831-1900. Just ask for my man Stan there. He's working, I don't know, he had about 20 pizzas going and everything else. So thanks again from Olive Oil's Pizzeria for being our pizza sponsor. I want to thank everybody for watching us on Verizon 32 everywhere in the Pittsburgh area. As you know, from Nemacolin up to Cranberry, Wexford, and even the city of Pittsburgh, all throughout the area. In Bethel Park, it's only Comcast 7. We appreciate all the great feedback in Bethel Park on both 32 and 7. So keep on watching. We're at a new high, I said yesterday, at 4,556 likes, Jim J, on Pittsburgh Sports Line on Facebook. So thanks to everybody who's liked our page, and thanks for all those requests. I just liked a bunch of those that come my way, and we appreciate that. Now we start our show off with what's on our mind, and we're going to do that right now. Zach Brenner, what's on your mind?
Well, Al Levine, the Talking Machine. This just in, Roger Goodell dropped the ball again. For a man that gets paid the kind of money that he makes, you would think that he would be able to pay a better brain trust to come up with better ideas. And as far as suspensions go, in this case, the punishment just doesn't fit the crime for what is being dished out in Deflategate in New England. To me, cheating is cheating, and when you get caught cheating, there's a price to be paid. And only 4 games suspension for being caught cheating red-handed. I've saw 100 games dished out in baseball like it's nothing, but there is 162 games in a season, if I might add. But 100 games to A-Rod for juicing. Only 4 games to, which was reduced to later to 2 for Big Ben for the shenanigans that he was never charged with. But 4 games to me for getting caught deflating the balls in New England is just not enough. And it's only Tom Brady that's being suspended. Why not suspend more players to touch the ball on offense?
The two, whatever they are, the ball boys or whatever, they're suspended without pay, and they can only be rehired by the league if they let them. So that's, in a sense, being fired.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah.
So the ball boys got suspended. The ball boys got suspended, and meanwhile, a mile down the road, Aaron Hernandez is saying, "Hey Tom, I know you didn't do it. I didn't do it either," and that's what's on my mind. Well, the punishment doesn't fit the crime.
You know what? I wasn't even going to talk about Deflategate, but from a guy who believes in cheating, Zach Brenner, and now you say when they get caught, Brady did not get caught. The problem with him is he didn't answer all the questions that they asked.
Good point.
That's the trouble he's in. There's no proof that Brady was involved in it. That's what happened here. So it's like
when you
Martha
refuse
Stewart.
to turn over your phone, I mean, that's just, I mean, what do you
Well,
got to
he
hide?
has many stars, friends, and family that are on the phone. I would love to see you turn over your phone to any authority.
I wouldn't. I'd be suspended for 4 games.
Okay, now a
But
cheater
it
and
should
a
be
cheater.
suspended for more.
A cheater and a cheater. That's what I'm
You're only,
talking about.
It's only cheating if you get caught, and then once you get caught, you got to pay the.
You're caught on
price.
TV. Thanks, Zach Brenner. I appreciate your input on that, and that's my little side note on it. So there you go, folks. You can call in 412-831-3304. Smoking Jim Frazier, what's on your mind?
Thanks, Al Levine, the Talking Machine. And if you want the green, you got the
He
C,
got hands.
Levine.
Look at that hat.
Wishbone days. Good
Hold it,
job.
we got an announcement. Look, it's Smoking Jim's hat. Can you get a
I like
close-up
it.
of
I
that?
tell you what, this hat looks good, too. I didn't think it would look that good on me.
When you're wearing
Never
all
had-
black,
Well, I never had an Adidas hat before. Thanks, Rookie of the Year.
show his face a little now with that hat. Look at that.
I like that.
He's smiling.
I got the high cheekbones going. The high cheekbones go with the hat.
Where else are they going to go with your face?
So what's on your mind, Smoking Jim?
What's on my mind, and I'll be real quick. I know we got a lot of guests coming in tonight, but what's on my mind is Linnell Collins. He's an offensive tackle for LSU. Was slated to go in the top 10. He was in Chicago at the NFL draft. And NFL cost this gentleman and his family $10 million. His ex-girlfriend was murdered, and police said right away that he was not a person of interest. He took a lie detector test. He passed. He took a DNA test, and they found out it was not his baby, which he said it was not. So this guy had absolutely no motive for murder, and still the NFL refused to draft the kid, cost him and his family $10 million. And Jerry Jones this week signed him as a walk-on. And like I said, the NFL should be ashamed of themselves, because in this country, in this great country, you're innocent until proven guilty. And that's what's on my mind.
Thanks, Smoking Jim. It's a proud day to hear the Sandbox boys believe in some type of law of the land. It's unbelievable. Chip, I can't wait to hear what's on your mind.
Thanks, Alan. I've got two things on my mind tonight. First one stems back to Saturday night. And Saturday night, I enjoyed a great evening at PNC Park, and I watched the Buccos knock off the St. Louis Cardinals that night. But, you know, baseball, Major League Baseball's been played for 150 years. I witnessed something at PNC Park Saturday night that has never happened in the history of baseball. The triple play was performed in the top of the second inning. And the thing that's unique about this triple play, the triple play went 4 to 5 to 4. Now, for my friend Jim,
what it is,
for my friend Jim, that means the ball was hit to the second baseman. He caught a line drive. He threw the ball to the third baseman, who stepped on third base and caught the runner off base, who then threw the ball back to the second baseman and caught the guy on second off base, turned a potential big inning into 3 outs, and which was integral in the Pirates winning that game.
Well, Neil Walker was the key, because other players were walking off the field not knowing what even was going on.
Well, the funny thing was that when they interviewed Clint Hurdle after the game, they said after Walker threw the ball to Kong, and he turned around to walk off the base, he goes, everybody on the bench was yelling in multiple languages for him to throw the ball back to the second base. So, you know, they've somehow managed to communicate with somebody that can't speak English. So we had, we had our, Latin American players, American players. Everybody was there. But all in all, it was something that really reminded me again of why I love the game of baseball. You never know when you're going to see something like that. In my short time on this planet, I've seen World Series games played here in Pittsburgh. I've seen an All-Star game in Pittsburgh. I've seen 2 no-hitters pitched in Pittsburgh. And for now, I actually witnessed the triple play. It was an amazing play. Now, the second thing on my mind, I'd like to add a little something to young Mr. Brenner's opening comments in regards to Deflategate. And I do have to tip my hat to Roger Goodell in one hand, because he actually handed down punishment to the New England Patriots. And, Bob Kraft does have Roger Goodell in his hip pocket. That surprised me. But, Roger showed his yellow streak down the middle of his back because he had Troy Vincent do the punishment. And so he had some kind of deniability there, so he didn't have to completely throw his buddy Bob Kraft under the bus.
Right.
But here's where I think he went wrong with the punishment. I mean, I do believe that the Patriots needed to be punishment. 4 games. I think ultimately, at the end of the day, a 4-game suspension would have been adequate. I think they should have gone with an 8-game suspension, and then when he appealed it, drop it down to 6 or to 4 games, just to make the point. I think if they drop the on appeal, if they drop that down to 2 games, it's kind of like making a bigger mockery out of this than the Patriots did. And the reason why Tom Brady is being singled out is he did everything he could to hinder the investigation. He did nothing to cooperate with them. As a matter of fact, the gentleman that did the investigation, Mr. Wells, asked Tom Brady if he could see his phone, and he said no. He said, here's what. I will ask your attorney questions. He can look at the phone and answer the questions that I ask him, and I will believe whatever you tell me, and I don't have to see anything. And they still refuse to do that. So lack of cooperation with the investigation is what got Brady punished. Now, here's the other part of this thing. The person that's walking away scot-free is the person that's created a culture of cheating here with the New England Patriots. And now I'm talking about Mr. Bill Belichick, okay? Now, let's understand this. Back in 2007, we had Spygate. And because Roger Goodell was covering for the Crafts again, he destroyed all the evidence, so we really never knew what the evidence was, but he got caught cheating once, okay? So now he gets into it again, and you cannot tell me that Mr. Control Freak, Bill Belichick, does not know everything that goes on within his organization. Nobody winds their watch without him knowing what's going on. So now, they say he had nothing to do with it. Well, Sean Payton supposedly had nothing to do with Bonusgate, and he got suspended for a year. Why not the same punishment for creating a culture of cheating that continues to exist, and they're still making a mockery out of this? They don't realize that this cuts right to the integrity of the game. I think, Roger, you did one good thing, and you did an equally bad thing at the same time. But that's what's on my mind.
Great points, guys. All right, I've been doing promos. I'm going to test the Tiger, see if he truly was the Rookie of the Year.
Wow, we can read that.
That was fantastic. Skeet Service Station is our sponsor of What's on Your Mind on Monday nights when we're on location. So check us out there. Thanks, Skeet. Let's go on. I won't put this sign up. The Gas Grill raffle is still alive and well. $1 a ticket. 5 tickets for $5. Get them while they're here. I have them. Go to EV Hardware. Come see Dave Cable. There's plenty of tickets left. $650 grill for $1. No, Chip didn't win it yet, even though he stated that publicly.
June
8th.
Okay.
It'll be at a council meeting. While we're here, we will get notification of the winning ticket.
I got to string her along for 4 more weeks. She's working on me for a new grill.
Don't get that grill.
How many tickets remain? A lot?
Probably like 1,200 or more. Now, with Bethel Market, I know it's over at 7 o'clock. It's now at St. Moore's Church. It has a great parking lot. I'm not going to mention all the people there. I did see a nice crowd there when I drove by coming to the show. So I know a lot of people went there. I want to thank everybody, all 120 people that showed up at the Designer Bag Bingo. It was a great night. Made a few $1,000s there on that, so it'll be happening next year. The ladies brought their own bottles and snacks and everything else. It was just a lot of fun. And the winning 50-50 raffle, I must say, was a $284 cash payment, while Al Levine, the talking machine, was doing the hustling there to get all those tickets sold. So sold almost 600 of those, so it was great. That's the promos. And I guess I'll go in on this Deflategate because I'll just be brief about it. My thing is, whether you have CBA, you have lawyers or whatever else, you have a culture of cheating in all sports, because my co-hosts in the Sandbox talk about it all the time. And it's interesting how when New England's in trouble and gets caught, what they say. Me, I feel most of these things, from domestic violence to gambling on sports and baseball and other things, you should be banned permanently. And I think that would end the problem with Bob Kraft. And guess what? Somebody else will come in and start cheating too. Now, I'll teach everybody to play the game right. And I know everybody's looking for an edge: nutrition, work ethic, rules, etc. So we'll go forward with this. And I can't wait to see the circus that begins on the appeal. It's going to be just fantastic. It gives us stuff to talk about, and we can talk about Goodell again. Because now he's surfaced again. Ever since those hugs with the draft, it's amazing how he come back. That's what's on my mind.
Hey, Al, one last thing to speak to what you're saying. You know, the one thing about the banishment of Pete Rose from baseball, you know, a lot of people disagree with it. You and I happen to be in agreement with it, but it was a great deterrent, because how many players have been implicated with gambling since he got banned?
He wasn't a player.
None.
He wasn't a player.
He was a player, and he was a manager. He was a player manager.
He didn't do it.
Did you even know what year that was,
he
Smoking Jim? And did you know that his bookmaker ratted him out on that he also bet against his team too? For and against.
You can't never listen to a snitch.
I believe bookmakers over
He should be in
players.
the Hall of Fame as a player, not a manager.
The only difference with that is, in the National Football League, to get in the Hall of Fame, there's no morality clause. In Major League Baseball, there is.
There's a technicality. Smoking Jim, we appreciate your enthusiasm for baseball when it's not the Pirates. So good luck with your Pete Rose campaign.
That's my useless bit of information for the
And Smoking
evening.
Jim lost a little in the Bucko game last night.
Yeah, because they had to. All right, we're going to go into some of our favorite segments here. And hopefully Smoking Jim Frazier can gather himself for a second after that Pete Rose slapdown on a morals clause.
Good stuff, huh?
Can't beat that. Let's hear some fiction and fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac wearing a Pittsburgh Sportsline Adidas baseball hat.
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. And we're going back a ways, about 10 years, I guess. Where I was at a promotion down in Dow's on 9th, which is no longer an outstanding
What a great
venue.
jazz place.
And we had about 12 models down there for a photo shoot, including Esther Nunez, a friend of the show, and Tionda Ford, a friend of the show. And it was a pre-promotion for a outdoor boxing match at Heinz Field. So after the photo shoot, I go upstairs for a little bit, look down, and then you see this guy coming in looking like a gladiator, a Greek god. Rayco War Saunders, and I tell you what, he was a cruiserweight at the time, 197 pounds, all muscle, built like a bodybuilder, and guy comes in and he's self-promoting himself and made a name for himself by, he had no team with him, he had no promoters, he had no managers, he had no sparring partners. It was just all him. And he and I struck up a conversation, and we got to be friends. And I went to his press conference, which was at the Marriott next to the convention center, and it was really the first big time press conference I've ever been to. Great food, great spread. Matter of fact, they gave all the members of the media a free suite at any time of the year to come for one day, a suite. So whatever happened at the Marriott stayed at the Marriott, but it was a beautiful place. But
How was your room?
it was wonderful, man.
See, I got that out of them, folks.
And I tell you what, the fights at Heinz Field was the first championship fight outdoors since Jersey Joe Walcott and Ezra Charles fought back in the 50s, and Rayco.
Forbes Field.
Forbes Field, buddy.
Yeah, and this was at Heinz Field, and Rayco won that. And a little bit after the fight, we got to be friends, and Rayco told me then that there was just no money in the cruiserweight division. I mean, this is a guy that was tailor-made for the cruiserweight division. Probably could have been the greatest cruiserweight champion of all time, but he told me he's either going to move into the heavyweight division or into the light heavyweight division. And he probably should have moved into the heavyweight division. He used to knock everybody out as a cruiserweight, but the light heavyweights, they feel his power and just run like rabbits, or like Floyd Mayweather Jr. And Rayco is fighting for another title on Saturday night. So I tell you what, it's been a great ride hanging with Rayco War Saunders, one of the great icons of boxing in the city of Pittsburgh here, history. So that's the fiction and facts from Smoking Jim's Almanac.
Thanks, Smoking Jim. Rayco's been a multiple guest on our shows in different venues. So you even did an interview last year at the Kumatai Classic on him.
Yes, right.
And he stopped in a couple times doing boxing broadcast, amateur.
Yes, he has. He's been there for the Emmys. Definitely. Friend and fan of our show.
And look for him in the movie Southpaw coming out this summer.
Yes, right.
We'll make a note of that. Try to have him on location when that comes out. Let's go to Chip's Trivia Time.
Thank you, Alan. Well, Pittsburgh has long been known as the city of champions, okay? And probably that dates back to, I would have to say, the 70s, when the Steelers won 4 championships in 6 years, and the Pirates won 2 championships in 9 years. But, the Pirates were the first Pittsburgh team to win a major championship. Well, the second team that won a major championship for the city of Pittsburgh was before the Pittsburgh Steelers, before the Pittsburgh Penguins, and in a league that no longer exists by a team that most people never even heard of. But on May the 4th, 1968, the Pittsburgh Pipers beat the New Orleans Buccaneers 122 to 113 in Game 7 to win the very first ABA championship. So there you go. Pittsburgh started out as a champion and still retains that title. Some other things that I found kind of interesting here along my inquiries here. Tonight, Pirates are playing the Philadelphia Phillies, and in Philadelphia, A.J. Burnett's pitching. Well, on May the 12th of 2001, A.J. Burnett pitched an unlikely no-hitter, overcoming a record 9 walks to lead Florida over San Diego 3-0.
Wow, that's unbelievable.
That's unbelievable. He faced 36 batters to get a no-hitter and didn't give up any runs. So that's
Tell the folks how many batters you face in a perfect game.
in a perfect game, you would face 27 batters because that's how many outs you need to win a game.
Thank you, Chip. I appreciate
May
that.
12th.
Some people don't know that.
May
I mean,
12th.
out there in TV land.
May 12th, 1955, a gentleman named Sam Toothpick Jones of the Cubs got a no-hitter the hard way. In the 9th inning against the Pirates, he walked the bases full, then struck out the last 3 batters for a 4-0 victory.
No pitch count there.
No pitch count there. But no, I've got some other things about the no pitch count thing. But there's a little-known shortstop named Everett Scott of the New York Yankees was benched on May the 4th, 1925. What's significant about Everett Scott? He ending his streak of 1,307 consecutive games played that started while playing for the Boston Red Sox. So the record was 1,307. Then on May 2nd, 1939, Lou Gehrig of the New York Yankees did not play against the Detroit Tigers at Briggs Stadium. Ending a streak of 2,130 games, his streak of consecutive games, Gehrig never played again. Babe Dahlgren took his place at first base, and the Yankees didn't miss his bat. However, they beat the Tigers 22-2. But Lou Gehrig had the record until the Iron Man Cal Ripken broke his record. So that was a that's Everett Scott's how he ties into this one, because
Gotcha.
they both ultimately were playing for the Yankees when they set the records. May 11th, 1919. There's one pitcher in the Hall of Fame. I'm sure Alan's heard this name before. They called him the Big Train.
Walter Johnson.
Walter Johnson of the Washington Senators pitched 12 scoreless innings in a duel with Jack Quinn of the New York Yankees at the Polo Grounds. The Big Train allowed only 2 hits and retired 28 batters in a row. Here's the part that Jim will like here. Future football star George Halas, batting leadoff for the Yankees, went 0 for 5, striking out twice.
Wow.
Okay?
Football may have been his game.
Football may have been his game. Okay, we'll give you one more here, and because I am not a proponent of the designated hitter rule, I think it should be banned. I think both leagues should go back to batting the pitchers. But on May 11th, 1971, Cleveland pitcher Steve Dunning became the last American League pitcher to hit a grand slam before the inception of the designated hitter rule in 1973. So, pitchers can make a difference when they bat, and I still think the National League provides a better product than the American League, but that's just my humble opinion. But that's Chip's Trivia for this week.
I like the American.
Thanks, Jim. Smoking Jim's always looking for an edge in the sandbox.
As far as baseball goes,
Is this Z time?
no.
Z
I would
time is
consider
coming
the
up.
Segment on baseball. I would consider
Z time
this
might be
on
canceled
Z
then,
time.
my friend.
Yeah, cancel Z time.
Z time is done for the night.
baseball real quick.
Baseball?
You have all that money invested into a pitcher's arm, Smoking Jim. Why do you care if he can hit
Yeah,
the ball?
Smoking Jim.
Why do you care? I'm just asking you. I'm just, common sense, logic from the cow you got, from a Vulcan.
Yeah.
Why you put all the money into the guy's mechanics?
He already said he
as a
believes in the
pitcher?
American
That's why I
League.
like American League ball.
Why would you want to risk that? running to first base or trying to
Here,
block runs
I'm
for
gonna
the
interrupt you. They should play the game with 9 players that play. When you change that, you change the whole dichotomy of the game, and you can allow guys to use different edges and strategy that you shouldn't even have in there. If a player can't bat up, then his career could be ended earlier, whether he pitches or not. It happens to regular starters. It can happen to a pitcher. If he's that big of a liability, so what?
We can agree to disagree.
Yes, sir.
Well, put it like this: your common sense is not common sense; it's prejudice.
What is prejudicial about it, sir? I paid you $100 million to pitch. I didn't pay you $100 million to bat.
This
and
is
hit the
called
ball.
Mr.
You paid
Billion.
him, no, you paid him $100 million to play baseball.
Yes.
Part of playing baseball is fielding a position and taking your at-bats. That's
Only
the
in the
game of
National
baseball.
League.
They did it for over
That is the
100
game.
years.
150 years.
So now
No,
you
but
can
no,
see Smokey Jim.
1867 to
Why?
1973,
Why
they
some-
always had the bat. Somebody come up with an edge that had many more millions than you, the $100 million guy, and that's why they did it, because they thought that that would help. It diluted the game here. It created more specialization with pitchers and everything else, and it made some managers where they don't manage. So it's not that good.
So
You don't
if
look
two
beyond
on
that.
the right had votes for the Baseball Hall of Fame, you wouldn't vote in a guy because he didn't take it back.
You're mixing apples and oranges.
No, to answer your question, to answer your question, I wouldn't vote for the Hall of Fame for a player that didn't field his position.
Because I also say to this, Chip,
Well, no, I
what
disagree.
about great
I would vote-
designated hitters, though?
Here's
Guys
a-
that were great designated hitters. Do they not get in the Hall of Fame?
Oh, you didn't let me sound off. You let Chip. I got to disagree with him on this because the rules of the game changed in '73. So anybody after that I had to vote for the Hall of Fame, if they excelled at pitching and were just in the AL, I would have to vote for them.
But
I
you
mean,
could
because
see
that's
why
the
guys-
rules. You're mixing apples and oranges on
Coming on
stuff.
our
But
side a
but
little
no,
bit.
but
Not at
here's
all.
what you have to understand.
I disagree totally.
Here's what
with
you understand. What you fail to understand is that the players that end up being designated hitters in their 30s were played a position in their 20s.
Yeah,
So
Correct.
they did
first
not
base.
start their career as
But
a designated
does
hitter.
does that
As a
diminish
matter
their
of
career?
fact, I don't think there are any designated hitters in the Hall of Fame right now.
Well, that's a great question for Chip's Trivia.
I think he may have answered it already. I can't think of one.
Well,
No, I
they're
think
all-
Edgar Martinez was up for the ballot just
He didn't have a-
recently,
yeah,
and he hasn't gotten elected.
He was short.
And but he was a position player first.
On votes, Smoking Jim, you need a percentage.
So could
75%.
you see where players would say, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to stay in the American League as a pitcher because listen, I don't have to bat. I'm
They
going
may
to
not
stay."
have a choice, Zach.
Well, you're right about
You
that.
know what I
Craig.
mean? Their contract doesn't get picked up for the next year. They're going to play for whoever pays them.
You're right.
And that's happened. And it has happened where some players do try to stay in the American League, pitchers and hitters. You just have to follow baseball, like maybe read something about it once a year, and then you would see some of these things. It's a new shiny penny to you.
He made a
But
good argument. He made a
I
good
know.
this,
I
his
don't
is
know
such an
anything
old
about
argument.
baseball.
His argument goes back to 1973. It's so old and stale that it's unbelievable. I wanted to be respectful, but I don't agree to disagree. It's the facts. When you choose to not let the facts get in the way of your opinions, you guys are 100% right. 100%.
What could I ask you guys? I wasn't around in 1973.
It doesn't matter. You
What
can read
prompted
history.
what prompted the rules to be changed in 1973 in baseball? What was the logic?
That is a good question. I'll find out the answer for
Mostly
you. I'll give it to
guy-
you next week. All right.
Most, from what I recall, mostly guys like yourself, they wanted to be different and have a different type of league, and they thought that
That
would
is
give.
a good question. It really is a good question. I will find out the answer for you.
It's something like that. They wanted an advantage there.
Well,
So-
every league
and a
involved.
difference.
No,
The
there's gotta be-
ABA
there had to
made
be a
Yeah.
th-
the NBA had the 3-point shot and whatnot because you know,
ABA.
the ABA
Somebody said.
made the NBA, and the AFL made the NFL change to go to a more of a passing league because it's just more exciting for the fans, and I think that having a designated hitter instead of having a pitcher hit is more exciting.
Well, here's a rule I have for you guys that you might like that baseball should adopt. No more playing with your gloves, fidgeting around. You pitch the ball and you go bat up.
I thought they were. I thought Chip.
No,
they
no,
had
I
a
mean
clock.
stop
I
it.
thought
They
had a
limit
clock.
it. I say just stop it.
Now they have a.
Okay,
Why?
what they
Because
do,
that
what,
ruins the
Zach,
game.
what they do
Ow.
now is they have a clock that starts in between innings, and when you
I
go for
hate
it to
that.
change pitchers. Okay, so that it shortens the amount of time that you can take between innings, and it shortens the amount of time that a pitcher has to warm up on the field. You get 2 minutes and 25 seconds. What they're doing to speed the game up, and I've witnessed this because I've been to several games this year, they were only 2 hours and 40 minutes, which is really about 2.5 to 3 hours is about what a baseball game should be. When they get to 4 hours, it's tedious. But what they're doing is they're not allowing the batters to step out of the batter's box after every pitch. They have to keep 1 foot in. What they spent the month of April doing was notifying the players that were violating this rule, letting them know that once May came around, if they continued, they were going to start getting fined. So,
And before we agree to disagree, how can these guys on that side, especially the gentleman next to you who cannot stay for more than 40 minutes at a baseball game,
I have no
even
problem.
weigh in on any subject,
I have no
whether
problem
it
with
adds
long
to
baseball
time.
games.
yeah.
You do because you couldn't stay that night. You could have stayed.
Well,
We
I
had
own
free
a small-
parking.
I own a small minority piece of the Homestead Grays softball team, so therefore that gives me a little bit of a minority interest in the sport, somewhat.
You know what? I'd be happy to
Well, that's
enlighten you.
good.
I'd be happy to enlighten you. But I'm gonna look up the answer to that question. Says
Stay tuned for next week, folks.
that's a great question. and I don't have an answer for it, but I will.
We'll
It
have
took
a
me
couple,
3
I'm
years.
sure.
It took me 2 years to stump the prophet. So tune
Hey,
in next
man,
week to get.
Yeah.
And I can tell you this: stick around for another 2. It ain't gonna be the first time.
Hey, there's plenty of stuff out there. But, the nice part about this, since we're having a discussion, a lot of people are like Zach, and not a lot are like Smoking Jim. There aren't too many, but a lot of people don't care about the history before they were born unless it affects them. And now that he's being enlightened here, I'm proud of that Pittsburgh Sportsline is able to help him and anybody else throughout the Pittsburgh area, the world, and everywhere else that you're watching Pittsburgh Sportsline on Facebook. And if this seems like nonsense, it does to me too also, folks. And sometimes we do get a good question like Zach threw out. And once in a while we get a nugget from Smoking Jim, which I still can't make heads or tails of it, whether he'll stay for a whole baseball game or half an hour is too much, or who knows what the answer is. We'll save that for another day.
Not to get away from baseball. Because I
You
love
started it. We're
because
trying
I
to
love
follow
it
your
so.
lead. Now this
I love
is
it so.
now this is even worse.
After further review, Smoking Jim, I went back and started to look over some of the players from this upcoming draft, and I was very critical that this was a very important draft for Colbert and Tomlin. And after looking at the picks, mostly from the second round down, I'm just not seeing the great draft that we really needed to have to really get back into contention this season.
Yeah, I agree. Especially for next year. They got some very good players, but a lot of the guys will not help them in 2015. And with the tough schedule that they have in 2015, got a little softer with New England. But, they're going to have a really hard time making a playoffs.
Do you remember the
in
talking
2015.
machine asking you, how are we going to get help this year?
Yeah, I remember.
And it
that.
wasn't answered
Yeah.
until today.
Well, here's something.
batting
I just
1,000 right now.
want to get this out here.
Because you don't listen.
Before we go ahead and chalk up September 10th as a win, okay?
Yeah.
Let's look at recent history of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And every time that we've played a backup quarterback or somebody that's making their first start in the NFL, they somehow seem to play like an all-pro that day. I can guarantee you that the Patriots are going to come in with a couple of tricks up their sleeves, and the Steelers are going to have all they can handle.
Good point.
You guys made some excellent points. Yeah, I think the Steelers did have a decent draft, not a great draft, but as far as impact players that are going to impact the roster this year,
Where's it at?
I hope this kid Bud Dupree is all he's cracked up to be so far. We're going to find out when he puts on pads and starts playing against the big boys.
He looked good on the field Sunday when he
He
made
was
it.
just running side to
He looked
side.
great, though.
Yeah.
He didn't even have a helmet on.
Football and
That's why I
shorts
said he
is
looked
nothing
good.
like playing in September with
Well, if
pads.
any players, me and Al Levine talked about this plenty of times, is I don't believe in working out for teams that I'm not hired by. I would never do the NFL Combine. If scouts came to my college and got me out of class,
You'd help.
I would not run for them that day. in his
Bought your steak dinner.
yeah, I would
Couldn't
eat.
run then.
But people don't realize you can get hurt anytime, and if you don't have a contract, and this before the draft, they'll treat you like they treated that kid Collins, who was supposed to be $10 million, and his family was waiting on that money. But look at the third pick overall for the Jacksonville Jaguars. 1 hour into rookie minicamp, he's out for the season with a torn ACL. Now, what if that would have happened a week before the draft?
Great point,
Isn't it
Smokey.
Flowers?
Yeah, Flowers. Yeah, heck of a ball player, and somebody that was very high on the Pittsburgh Steelers chart, but they knew they'd never be able to get
They
him.
never
Just like they
dropped
thought
that far.
they wouldn't get Dupree, but they knew they wouldn't get
Well,
Flowers.
and that's the thing, you know. I mean, you know, with these kids, you know, we always make comments about how much they're getting paid, but you know what, their career could be over on the very next play.
Well,
And you know, so
Yeah.
I mean, you know, they are entertainers. They do earn their pay.
that kid Collins actually tried the night before to pull himself out of the draft because the impression that they got were that because there were some things up in the air that no team was going to draft him, not even with a 7th round
He
pick.
got
Well,
backstabbed.
if I owned the team, Smoking Jim Fraser, you could bet your bottom dollar that me and you would be drafting that kid if he was
yeah.
still around, even in the
Oh, yeah.
7th round with the last pick, because. Look how much money that kid got cost, like you said, by falling all the way out. Jerry Jones gave him a 3-year deal at like $1.6 million a year or something like that.
No, 1.6 million
For
the
3 years, yeah.
That's a steal.
But here's what you have to
That's true.
understand with these, NFL franchises are billion-dollar corporations, okay? And these guys are trying to protect their assets. They're trying to protect themselves. Hey, you know what? Hey, you know, you go ahead and sign this kid, and everything hasn't been completely investigated, and they don't have all the answers yet. What happens if you sign this? You know, you pick this kid with the 3rd pick of the draft, and you don't always get that high of a pick, and he ends up getting arrested.
Every
and thrown in
team
jail.
got retired FBI guys working for him, including the Pittsburgh Steelers. They knew he was innocent. They just put the screws to the guy.
Hey,
Why?
I got to interrupt
Why?
this show. We got an
Why?
announcement. We got an announcement from Devin Shea, who's down in El Salvador.
All right.
He's our cameraman, control room guy.
Bring back some water.
Aaron Ward is taking his place tonight, doing a great job, but he said it's hot in El Salvador. Then he's so delirious, he was talking about the WNBA. So
Wow.
I don't know what happened to Devin, but we wish him well when he comes back.
Ashley Battles. I'm gonna have a talk with him.
Yes. Thanks. Sorry to interrupt your discussion, but when we have our man in the military, we thank him for his service and
Yes, sir.
putting 2 weeks in El Salvador. So that's a Devin Shea report.
No, can I also interject this though? So for a team that took Mike Adams, who
The
was a
bum.
known smoker, you pass on a kid that passed a lie detector test that police said is not a suspect, that was a stud, that was a top 32 pick, that could have probably helped in case Castro decides to take out Pouncey or sabotage another lineman on a pull.
Zach, here's what you have to
Good point,
understand.
good point.
When the time when the Steelers picked Mike Adams, it was a different world than it is today. You look at everything that has happened in the last year and a half, and it's going to influence decisions that are made moving forward. You know, when you have the Ray Rice issue, you have the Adrian Peterson issue, you have Aaron Hernandez. You've got a number of these different players that are getting involved in things that wasn't happening. I mean, if it was happening before, it never made the news, but now all of a sudden it is. And, you got to protect your assets.
Steelers got hoodwinked with Michael Adams, and they got hoodwinked again with him. Sad story. He gave them a sad story, and they fell for it.
Well,
Yeah, I think so. Just another soft Buckeye.
I
from
mean,
Ohio.
the kid from Nebraska, Missouri, Shane Ray, went in the first round, and he tested positive. He had marijuana busted a week before the draft. He said he won't do it again. He won't drive around with that much marijuana in his car again. Selected top 20 pick.
well, you
A
know
lot
what?
of Steelers out there
But,
in the NFL. A lot of Steelers.
We'll see what kind of career he has.
What about how does anybody feel? I know Smoking Jim can't talk about this because you don't know anything about hockey. How do you guys feel about Mike Babcock There's a big to-do over Mike Babcock with the Detroit Red Wings. He's available, I guess, apparently. And the Penguins came out a couple days ago and said, we're fine. We're not going to pursue Mike Babcock, which is an awesome coach.
Mike Babcock does have a decent resume. I don't think that he's the next Scotty Bowman. And if you follow hockey, you know the kind of impact that Scotty Bowman had on hockey. Won a lot of Stanley Cups. Babcock has won one Stanley Cup, and he made it to the finals the last time the Penguins won, which was in 2009. But since then, he's been a first-round exit in the playoffs every single year. The only thing he had managed to do was win a couple of gold medals with the Canadian hockey team in the Olympics. But, I think Mike Babcock is a little bit overrated. I mean, if he was such a great coach, where's his string of cups? Where's his championship teams on his resume? Yes, he does have some. It's been a long time ago. And he missed more, ever since the Penguins won the Stanley Cup, he's been a first-round exit from the playoffs every single year. So I would not be too surprised if he ends up back in Detroit.
Oh, it could happen. But thinking outside the box, which we need to in Pittsburgh because we only have so many years left with these great players, I would take them because who knows what will happen. I would take a chance on him for a year or two just to change it up because Bausma come in and look what he did in months. I would love to see a change where players are accountable.
And here's the other side of that coin, okay? And that there is validity to your point. But here's the other side of the coin. You've got a system in place now. You've got players that are learning the system. Now you need the right pieces to fit into this system. Now do you blow that up and start all over again? Then you're starting from scratch, and then you're maybe another 2 or 3 years away.
Or can you have Babcock tweak it a little bit towards his style because he's more of a disciplinarian on people in general
but
with the players that you have.
Well, and that's the thing. Do we have the right pieces in place now? And it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening because the Penguins have hamstrung themselves with the salary cap by investing so much money into so few players. See what's available and that's out there. So,
do you guys think the coach that we have right now is the answer?
No.
I don't think he's the reason why the Penguins flamed out like they did this year at all.
I think the injuries are number one. I think coaching and management's decisions are number two. They're in charge of this. So they sort of let some of this go.
But
injuries
are one, and I think Rutherford was part of the problem number two. I think he poorly managed the salary cap and left us short of a defenseman at the end of the year when we were making.
And he wasn't given a good salary cap to work with.
But
he still could have done some
things. But he went into the beginning of the season knowing what the kind of situation he was in, and he had months to try to figure out solutions. You get creative. You do some. Whatever you got to do, sharpen your pen or pencil or whatever. But,
and I'm sure Mario and, whoever, they're supposed to be watching some of this stuff.
Well,
and I hear they're not happy, but they're part of the problem.
Well, and then you look at Evgeny Malkin. It was said that he underperformed this year because he was injured. Now Evgeny goes and decides to play for the Russian national hockey team.
Scored a couple goals.
No, he has only scored one goal. No, he's been just as big of a bust as he was for us this year. But if you were
injured, then.
But if you're injured and you can't play for the team that's paying you $9 million a year, why are you going over and playing for
country comes first?
Country comes first. Well,
they say that with most players,
especially more so with Mother Russia, because they'll kidnap his parents.
No, they already have him.
Putin
you haven't actually seen his parents, have you?
Yeah, I have.
Have you?
But as far as the Penguins go,
I know.
I'm gonna give them the leeway. I want to see what kind of moves they make, and I want to see what kind of product they're going to put out on the ice next year because moves need to be made. They need to put a winger on Crosby's line. They need to put a winger on Malkin's line.
Can we do it though if the players are healthy? Because we suffered so many injuries with players who were there. I would rather see healthy players all year to see if management and coaching are the problem.
Well, you know what, and that's going to be the $64 question.
Lack of toughness.
Well, they've always had that. That isn't an issue. They hire people. They don't want a garage league. That's why Mario's in charge of this. No garage league. If you don't know what that is, he doesn't want people beating people up in the garage.
But the referee. Well, the NHL has let this happen, but the referees have gotten away from calling all the obstruction penalties. which has caused the game to
especially late in the
to
season.
stagnate in the late 90s and the early 2000s with all the clutching and grabbing and everything.
I agree.
And scoring his way down. And I think if they want to increase interest in the sport, they need to start putting a puck in the net.
Almost quarter two. Yeah, we're having a great open discussion. Zach, we were waiting
Been
for
so
a couple
far,
calls.
It's been a great show. So even with the
I don't
the
know. I'm
calls-
sort of
Well, hey, until we
disappointed.
get our
Great show.
calls, why don't we talk a little Buccos here? They're in the midst of a 3-game winning streak. Won 4 of their
I'm
last
all for
5.
that, talking about a winning streak today.
Yeah, they've won the last 3 in a row. They took 2 out of 3 from the Cardinals after losing the first game. Saturday night's game was really kind of amazing because we took a 3-0 lead because the Cardinals uncharacteristically made a bunch of bonehead plays. Then Vance Worley gave up 5 runs in the top of the 5th inning, and the Pirates came back and won the game 7-5, which was pretty outstanding. And you know, there's been a lot of talk in the Pirates this year about their closer. And Mark Melanson is just last night he wrapped up his 3rd save in a row. People are claiming, well, geez, he's lost velocity on his pitches. And you know what? To me, velocity on your pitch doesn't mean anything.
Placement is more than anything.
If you can get people out, I don't care if you underhand the ball. You know, if you can make people swing and miss at it, I think you deserve a chance. But he pitched real well last night. 4-2 lead in the 9th inning. He gives up a home run.
And then that was it.
No, he gives up a home run and he gave up a base hit and then
Yeah,
he shut
but-
them down. And you know
I mean,
what?
no
At
more
the end of the
scoring.
day, all we got to do is score one more run than our opponent. But a lot of things are coming into place. Starling Marte is
8th
showing
homer.
all-star capabilities. Young Ho Gong has
The hoe part.
has been outstanding. I mean, this guy's batting .331.
And he played in smaller fields. Here's what's amazing to me. They were almost little league standard fields, a couple 100 feet. Mm-hmm. I mean, so for him to be playing at a major league level at the price they
he's
pay,
hitting for power.
It shows, yes.
And he's hitting for average. He's played third base. He's played playing shortstop tonight. Josh Harrison is in
Time to
a
sit him down.
well. It's time to let him play through it. I mean, he's in the biggest slump of his young career, and he's in the biggest slump of his career. But
Willie
he's going to
Mays
play
went
his
for
way
about
through it.
1 for 56. They sent him
Willie
down.
Mays.
Yeah, but they sent. You would have said get rid of the bum when he was a kid.
Last
if you
week
were
at
on.
this time, blowing up the airwaves all over Pittsburgh, all of the sports talk show hosts were all saying McCutcheon's injured, you ought to sit him down, you ought to rest him. McCutcheon's raised his average from 181 to 219 after last night's game, and he's hitting the ball the way Andrew McCutcheon hits the ball. When Andrew McCutcheon is on, he'll hit the ball from right center to left center field, and he'll just hit rockets.
Hey,
And he's
Chip,
doing
this is
that.
all good, but let me put it in perspective for the football schedule, guys. We played like 1/5 of the season. So in the NFL, that'd be like 3 games. So if you're willing to give up on your running backs and your quarterback after 3 games.
He was ready to give up after the
No,
first
he
game.
did. He did. But I'm trying to give him the logic because he based it on nothing but opinion. And this would be like 3 games of the NFL.
He had a good series against
No,
the
but
worst
the
team-
NFL.
Worst team in
The NFL.
baseball, the Phillies.
No.
3 games against
He
the
actually had a
NFL.
great series against the St. Louis Cardinals, the best team.
He
in
doesn't
baseball.
mention that because he has amnesia on it.
Yeah, he's got
16-game
selective
season, it'd be like 3 games
We're-
for the Steelers.
With 32
2 home
games.
runs, 2 home runs. Still.
30.
He's still stuck on 2
How do
home
you know
runs.
negative statistics?
I'm just asking.
When
I
he-
said he would not have.
You're
a good
stating
season.
what you're
He
regurgitating
cut
that we
off
already
his
know.
dreads for
What-
publicity.
What do you consider not a good season?
He doesn't.
Andrew McCutcheon was.
Yes.
He,
I mean, no, I mean,
not
you-
winning the MVP of the league
Okay, do you
because
think
he was in the
he's-
top 3 the last
Okay,
3
so
years.
so
of
32
one.
games into the season, you think there are any MVP candidates at this point?
He hasn't studied it that deeply.
32
Well, I'll give you a
32
couple of
games into
names.
this. I know Andrew's not.
No,
It's
Right
like
over
playing
that.
3 games in the NFL.
right now,
2
right
home
now.
runs. You think he's going to hit 30?
It's like having 2
You know
touchdown
what?
passes
Have
in
you
3
have
games.
you ever seen when Andrew McCutcheon gets hot?
I seen it with dreads. I've seen it with
His
hair.
wife is hot.
The hair has nothing.
Oh,
to do with
he's
that.
married too. Well, that's another mark against him. That'll
Luckily, for all of you that are trying to learn
If
something,
you wanna
the
discuss
disclaimer is you know less now if you listen to Smoke and Jim on the logic. 3 games out of the NFL season, if Big Ben only has 3 touchdown passes, cut him.
Hey, we talked
Big Ben,
about
caught
last
him?
night that a
Okay.
lot of athletes are superstitious.
You
a lot
did.
of athletes,
You
great
did.
athletes, are superstitious, and cutting your hair has been proven that that's worse than the Sports Illustrated cover G.
And that's why I haven't cut mine for the last
Because
Because you're
2
an
months.
Afro-American.
Wait a minute. Now, if you're trying to come
He's
across
reaching.
as being somebody that knows anything about any sport, that's the
Superstitious.
most
I don't-
ridiculous.
That's superstitious.
It's horse crap.
Michael, did you know Michael Jordan wore his lucky
We do
North
now.
Carolina shorts under his Chicago Bulls shorts?
Do you have
Every
do,
game?
Do,
That's
do,
superstitious.
Do you think I ever cared? Or do you
It's
think
a mean
anybody else
something.
did?
It means
But
what-
he's saying he
yeah.
did. That's all. Just
Well,
like
hey,
Sidney Crosby's
hey, you know what?
superstition.
Hey,
Sid's
Andrew, what
superstition.
color are your underwear? Is this the kind of stuff that you want me to ask?
Cut hair is superstitious. You don't do that before the season.
Like you
Oh,
always
Why does
have,
hockey
So wait-
players grow playoff beards? It's part of superstitious.
just like in
Like
baseball,
Spain.
they'll grow beards somewhere.
Well,
Yeah, some of them
Calvin
do.
Johnson had hair similar to Kutch, and he shaved his, cut his, buzzed his thing down for
Well, he
image.
never-
and he's Megatron. He's a beast.
Yeah, he never won nothing. Yeah, you going
Always,
against Willie,
you're
going
like
against Willie
Pacquiao.
Gay. You going
Smoking
against
Jim,
Willie
I
Gay.
see the light now. You're like Pacquiao, raising his arms before a fight, and afterwards, man, my shoulder's
He's a
shot.
tough man. I watched that fight today. He won 8 rounds.
You're so delirious and delusional. You hadn't slept for 3 days. I saw 3 rounds, and if I saw Pacquiao fighting me, I would let him swing away because all he could do was go straight at you. That was an embarrassment.
AJ Burnett.
Unbelievable.
3 more scoreless innings.
Let
He's
me ask
already
you this question.
Go ahead.
What's Cole's record?
5-1.
And I told you he should be the ace. That's living proof.
A
Living proof,
blind
baby.
squirrel like Smoking Jim Frazier can find an acorn. He found it.
Jim,
You're not making sense.
you're not making sense because right now he is the ace of the staff.
He
Okay,
didn't.
you don't go into the season and say, "Okay, you're going to be my ace." You know
Whoever-
who becomes the ace of
The
the
guy that
staff
gets the ball
is the man that
opening day.
pitches
Opening day.
That means nothing.
Yes, it does.
No, it does
he
not.
came out as the ace.
No, he didn't.
And you're
He
a
He
mind.
had not earned that right yet. Maybe next year he'll pitch on opening day.
Next
After
year,
he's
Cole's
earned
gonna
it.
have to. He's going to
Did
have
you
to.
ever play Little League Baseball?
All the time.
Did you see how some kids were so uncoordinated at the beginning of the
No,
year?
not my neighborhood.
Yeah, they were, because I know the neighborhood. Some of them were so bad, they couldn't even catch or hit a ball at 9 years old because they were used to playing football. In baseball, they weren't. It takes some talent and skills to hit that ball and field it.
Hey, in my neighborhood, brother, when you was 10 or 11, you was really 16 and 17.
Yeah, but you're talking cheating. That isn't even what we're talking about. You just
we talking
ratted
winning.
yourself out.
Cut that mustache off and let's get this win.
You ratted it out. Well, I'll just say, obviously, like they do in hockey, you couldn't play anywhere but Monroeville. And you couldn't play any tournament baseball. You may have never saw a tournament baseball outside of Monroeville, which other players did. Myself and others would travel. I'm sure Chip can tell you where he played at.
Y'all was on the traveling league?
Yes, I was. I was on the All-Star team, and we traveled around. We played Stoke and Rocks. We were over here in Carrick. We played team up in Ross Township. You know, we traveled around the Pittsburgh area. But it was the All-Star team from the Little League that I was in. You know, so what they did was they picked the better players, you know, some from each team.
Wow.
See, he learned and he played ball. I got to check the records.
I'll
When
tell
were you
you.
born again? Because I know that investigation. That investigation's ongoing. They're getting close. They're
Tell you what,
circling the
I tell you,
wagons.
my father was a coach, and he taught me the game when I was young. And before I was old enough to play in the Little League, I sat on the bench and I kept score for his team. You know, so that's how I learned about why people do certain things when the ball's hit. You know, you don't just stand there and wait for something to happen. You have to be in right position to make things
He didn't
happen.
teach you anything about superstitions.
People are superstitious in baseball. I'll tell you my superstition. When I walked on the field to pitch, I didn't step on the white line.
There you
When
go.
I come off the pitching mound, I didn't step on the white line. And you know what? Sometimes I won a lot of games, but it wasn't because of the white line.
Maybe I did have a superstition because what I would do is when I get my fresh, clean white uniform on, as soon as I got out of the car, I was the first kid to go slide across the
That's
infield.
a superstition.
Get some dirt on my uniform. Because I came home with half the infield in my back pocket.
Hello, caller. We've been waiting for your call.
How you doing, Al Levine?
I'm doing well, Lightning Rod Sulka. We only got a few minutes left for you, champ.
I was at the pizza shop.
Oh, man. I hope you had a great piece of pizza, buddy. We had our pizza, and I know you're not eating much pizza.
They gave me a whole pizza to bring home, and I'm sitting there smelling it in the car, knowing I can't have any of it. But I brought it home anyway. No, it was Dante's Pizzeria out there in South Park. The guy's he's unbelievable. The way
I
he's
know
doing
them.
it there.
They're good. Just eat some of the cheese and tomato
I'll
sauce.
be wearing the T-shirt, and I'll be wearing the T-shirt in the ring on Saturday.
Sounds like a good sponsor. Hey, I think we only got a few minutes left. We had so many questions for you. Just tell everybody what's going on and what weight you're fighting at, because they're interested in that, Rod.
Saturday, we'll be fighting 130 pounds for the first time in my career against Noel Echeverria, tough kid, Puerto Rican kid, southpaw. At the Meadows, I believe the doors are probably going to open at 6. Fights start at 7. I'm the main event. There's a great undercard. Jason Bergman's fighting Reiko Saunders. Is fighting Tommy Carpensi's fighting. It's going to be a great card. The tickets are reasonable, $25 for general admission, $100 for ringside. So it's definitely a can't miss card. There's a lot of those guys, including myself, have been fighting, on big shows and everything. So it's nice to kind of come back to a smaller arena, fight on a smaller, more private, personal kind of show, and have that kind of talent on the card.
Now, there's no doubt about it. It'll be a great night. It'll be rebroadcast on Fox 53. Smoking Jim Frazier and the Talking Machine will be announcing. We're not sure who else will be on the team, but we want to thank Frank Luca and Crown Boxing for putting this all together with you guys.
Yeah, definitely. Frank's, he's the promoter. He's the promoter on the show. Been working with him. He's been real easy to get along with, easy to get everything done, and very available. Have no problem getting in touch with him and stuff, which is nice when you're dealing with a promoter. Sometimes it can be tough.
Well, you've witnessed it firsthand with you doing your own business and running it from A to Z. I've witnessed that over the last few years, so that helps.
We only got 1 minute left, Rob. Why don't you tell us about what's going on at Century 3 Mall real quick?
Oh, yeah, we got the Fight Company opening June 1st. It's going to be Pittsburgh's biggest boxing gym and CrossFit. So we're going to have boxing classes, fitness, and CrossFit classes be open.
And where's it located in the mall? Just so people haven't...
Century 3 Mall, second floor next to J.C. Penney's.
There you go.
All ages, sizes, everybody's welcome. It's truly a place for anybody.
All right. Hey, we got to wrap this up, Rod. I want to thank you. We'll see you at the night of the fights. And after your win, you're welcome on to any one of our shows that you can do it.
Hey,
So-
Rod,
Thank
this
you
is
very
Chip.
much.
I do want to wish you the best of luck in all your ventures, buddy. Good luck.
Thank you, guys. Thanks very much. I appreciate it.
Take care.
You too.
And that's it, folks. You heard from Lightning Rod Sulka. We got to wrap this show up. I want to thank you for watching. Look, we had our local champion call in, and he's starting his own fight company, a gym and fitness center at Century 3 Mall. Be safe out there and stay Joey strong.
Here comes the monster. The Tickle Monster.
Just imagine what a little time can do for your family.